Microphones are on. All right, everybody, let's call the meeting to order. I'll call the May 13th, 2025 regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for the Village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque to order. We will start off with our roll call. Commissioner Martinez appears to be absent at this time. He may be coming in late, but we'll figure that out. Commissioner Baldwin?
Here.
Commissioner Barrow?
Here.
Commissioner Tagliapetra?
Here.
Commissioner Edward? Here. Commissioner Haywood?
Yeah.
Commissioner Homan? Here. And it looks like we are 6:01 according to that back there, so. All right. So approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda. Second as presented.
Okay. It's been moved by Commissioner Barrow and seconded by Commissioner Baldwin. All those in favor?
Yes. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll go ahead. Public comment period, we will begin with that. Residents may address the Planning and Zoning Commission to comment on issues, problems, or successes on topics that do not appear elsewhere on the agenda. Audience members will be given an opportunity to comment on agenda items as they come up. Speakers must register with the village staff prior to the beginning of the meeting. There was a sign-up sheet out in the lobby. I have it up before me now. Is there anybody else that wishes to add themselves to this list before we start? Seeing and hearing nobody, we will continue. So we've got one person on the public comment. Mr. Sanchez, will you please join us at the podium? If you will start off with your name and address, please.
My name is Vincent Sanchez at 6802 Rio Grande. First off, I would like to remind the Planning and Zoning Commission of the February 11th minutes, page 2, lines 1 through 5, where Commissioner Holman requested to follow up on my issues. I'd like to know if there's anything to do that is delaying this process. Secondly, I wish to bring attention the code changes being proposed by the March Planning and Zoning meeting. I feel that without scrutiny, useful language will be removed for arbitrary reasons. For example, page 4, build to line, is stricken for removal. This definition is useful to me within the issues that I have brought to the Commission, as well as others submitting variance requests today. Build to line means a line drawn on a subdivision plat, site development plan, or plot plan, indicating a plane up to which structures may be constructed. When such lines are approved by the board, if different from the setbacks established in this chapter. Thirdly, without an official planning and zoning director, I feel it is inappropriate for an interim zoning director to instigate changes to the village code. Lastly, I want to stress that I've had great experiences communicating with many people working in the village, but others have been very difficult. I feel I have gone above and beyond what I consider reasonable requests for communication and discussion. After the last 4-hour planning and zoning meeting, I was effectively ambushed by Mr. Williams. In the months prior, I had made public records requests for variances and permits. Part of that records request were not found. When Mr. Williams asked me what my problem was, he already knew the answer. One of the missing documents was approved the day before he hostilely confronted me. He rudely instructed me to make another records request. To my surprise, the information was quite telling. Mr. Williams, I'm not intimidated by you. For anybody else, I have stated, for the record, I have started to record my experiences over the last 15 months. If you're curious to see what I have been complaining about, I will wait until after tonight's meeting and will provide you with that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody online that wishes to add public comment? No. All right. We will continue then. We move on to the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If the discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Currently, under the consent agenda, we have a single item, which is the approval of the minutes for the April 8th, 2025 regular P&Z meeting. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have some
Commissioner
revisions.
Baldwin?
Thank you, Chair. I have but 4 edits that cover the April 8th minutes, starting on page 5 of the current packet, line 32, signs purpose section. It should read, Commissioner Baldwin suggested for clarity to add or into before public rights of way. The draft says and into, which means something different. And so I want to make sure that it says or into so that either of those conditions would be triggering to the purpose.
So you're saying strike the and add an or before it?
Correct.
What page was it?
This is the minutes, so page 5 of the current packet.
Page 5 of the total packet or just of the draft?
It's
It's
page,
of the minutes. I mean,
it's
I don't-
page 12 of the total document, so.
So it's page 5 of the minutes. And if you look at line 32, the numbers that are down the left side,
Okay, I see it.
okay?
Thank you.
So it's an or into instead of an and into. So I would like that revised to reflect. And I did go back and watch everything to make sure I was capturing what I remembered. On page 9 of the minutes, line 31 to 33, on prohibited signs, it should read, Mr. Williams suggested that the village may need to make sure that the amortization period was appropriate, but that the commission could make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees once staff had done the amortization research. If it stays as make a recommendation on the current proposal, it looks like there wasn't any interest in that issue, and there certainly was in our discussion. There was a request by Mr. Williams to do more work or do more research in a couple of places, and so that needs to be reflected so that it can come back to P&Z when that work is done, right? I mean, the whole question was, there was an amortization period early on, remember the 2008 to 2011. Was that enough, not enough? I mean, that was the question, and so there needs to be some work done on that before we can come back and state, oh, it needs to be scooted forward or we're good. Third, on page 11 of the minutes, line 22, variance. There's an important,
Can you slow down and let us
Sorry.
get to the spot before you start?
sorry,
Thank you.
Page 11, line 22.
line 22.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so it's in the variance section. There's an important issue that needs to be included at the end of this sentence. He cautioned against duplicating this process and otherwise limiting the percentage of requests for signs and suggests there might be a role for a small administrative deviation from the standards, but that should be taken up at a future meeting after staff study it. Again, it's really important to state that there was a commitment to study the issue and come back to the commission.
I'm not seeing what all that language you just read.
I'm saying that that's what I'm
She's
saying
adding,
should be
she's correcting.
corrected.
She's correcting it. It should have been in there, is what she's saying.
And again, I went back and I listened to the recording to make sure that I wasn't misremembering it or putting words in anyone's mouth. And then last, also on page 11, scooting down just a couple of lines to line 26 to 27. My motion for a recommendation of approval for TA 2501 to the Board of Trustees for final approval, as outlined within the staff planning report with the noted modifications, should be revised to read, recommendation of approval for TA 2501 to the Board of Trustees for final approval as outlined within the staff planning report as modified by the Planning and Zoning Commission. We made a bunch of modifications, and that needs to be really clear when it goes forward. So I just want to be clear that it was the commission making the modifications. So those are my 4 requested revisions to the minutes.
Okay. Is there discussion on any of these? Okay. Could you make a motion then?
Yes, I would like to move inclusion of those revisions to the minutes for April 8th.
So Commissioner Baldwin has moved updates, corrections to 4 places within our minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Bless you. Commissioner Tagliapetra has seconded.
Point of order, this is a question. Will we be voting to approve it as she suggested?
Oh, that's true.
and Without seeing what will be put in, without seeing it again?
That will be up to the vote and the whim of the motion.
I believe that, and I would ask Michelle just to confirm, but I believe when we have had corrections to the minutes in prior meetings, the revisions are made and then it comes back for approval in the next round.
Okay? So then can you please modify your motion?
I would like to move that the April 8th minutes be revised to incorporate the 4 revisions that I outlined so that they can come back as revised to the Planning and Zoning Commission at the next regular meeting.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Baldwin. Commissioner Tagliapetra, do you accept those
I
changes?
will accept that, yes.
Thank you. So this will be a roll call vote. Commissioner Barrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez is not here. Commissioner Edward?
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin?
Yes.
Commissioner Tagliapetra?
Yes.
Commissioner Haywood?
Yes.
Commissioner Homan? Yes. The motion carries. So we will expect to see 2 sets of minutes at our next meeting, one correcting our last meeting and, of course, tonight's minutes. Okay, are there any other changes that need to be noted? Okay, thank you. And we will continue on. Let's see, where are we at now? All right, we'll move on to the public hearing and applications. We've got one item before us tonight, that is Appeal V25-01, a request by, excuse me, I don't know how to say your first name? Maya, okay, thank you very much. Request by Maya Mullen, agent for Bree Lovelady, for a variance of 3 feet 7 inches to the required 15-foot side yard setback distance to allow a proposed building addition to be just 11 feet 5 inches from the western property line for the property located at 1028 Green Valley Road Northwest, zoned A1 agricultural residential and legally described as Lot A, lands of Connie Lovelady Rappaport. The subject site contains approximately 1.0056 acres in area. This is an item that has been remanded back to the board, back to the commission, Planning and Zoning Commission, from the Board of Trustees, and this was from our April 15th, 2025 meeting. So some of this will look familiar, and we'll have an opportunity to continue questioning. Mr. Chappell, could you please swear in anybody that is wanting to testify in this issue?
You raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Thank you, Mr. Chappell. Mr. Williams, can you please provide us the Planning and Zoning report?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, good evening. Thank you. For the record, my name is Brennan Williams. I'm an independent contractor providing planning and zoning support for the Planning and Zoning Department. We'll be presenting this item for your consideration this evening. Madam Chair, as you described, this matter comes back to the Commission from the Board of Trustees. It was at the trustees, the board's meeting on April the 15th, where they determined, or they decided to remand this matter back to the Commission. Planning and Zoning Commission initially heard this item at their February 11th public hearing. If you'll remember, during that hearing, after discussion and consideration of the proposal, the commission rendered a decision of denial on the request. At that time, the applicant was arguing that the criteria for unnecessary hardship, number 1 and number 3, number 1 being that there were unique physical characteristics of the property that created exceptionality, and number 3, that the parcel was irregular or unusually narrow in its shape, were the arguments that were presented. The Planning and Zoning Commission determined that those criterion did not apply to the request. Subsequently, the property owner filed an appeal, a timely appeal of the Planning and Zoning Commission's decision. They indicated in their appeal that they had had difficulty meeting with a former staff member, and that after they met with the staff member, they were given direction and subsequently modified their argument that was being made, specifically to reference, as was suggested, criterion 1 and 3 for unnecessary hardship. In their paperwork and their appeal to the Board of Trustees, they indicate that their proposal, they feel, meets a different criterion regarding unnecessary hardship. That is number 5, which taken out of section 9.225E7B5 reads, a variance may be approved because there are other relevant factors exist that, when taken into account, indicate that the granting of a variance is substantially justifiable, giving proper weight to the interests of the property owner, the public interest in protecting and fostering the character of the vicinity and the village, and the intent and purpose of the master plan and zone code. The applicant indicates in their remand paperwork that they now argue that the proposal meets the interests of the property owner, achieves the public welfare considerations that are outlined within the code, and meets the intent and purpose of village development standards. Specifically, they cite that the proposed improvements to the existing home will not only add value to the subject site, but to surrounding properties. The proposal will incorporate architectural features into the home for both functional and aesthetic enhancements, and it will allow a practical construction solution specific to the connection between the roof, the roof between the garage and the house. Additionally, they argue that the variance will support and protect the character of the village. The construction will be quality construction. The encroachments will be limited to just 75 square feet into the setback area. And the resulting western facade will be staggered and result in a design that is more interesting and attractive, particularly to the neighbors most affected to the west of the subject site. Lastly, they indicate that the layout will continue to permit sufficient access for existing utilities, vehicular access to the subject site, as well as emergency services. As outlined on page 4 of the staff report, staff is in agreement with the arguments that are made by the applicant and their agent as it relates to this request, is recommending that the Planning and Zoning Commission approve V2501. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Commissioner Baldwin?
So, Mr. Williams, I just want to confirm that the staff report that we received at the prior meeting was a recommendation for denial, and that this staff report is a recommendation for approval, largely driven by the criteria that are being called out to be considered for the variance. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Baldwin, that's correct. The initial application and resulting staff report back in February, the proposal was evaluated based on the arguments that were made specific to items 1 and 3. I was the staff member that put that together, did not agree with those arguments. Subsequently, or coming to you tonight, is kind of a change in the argument and focused on criteria number 5, which is, in my opinion, not as stringent a standard as criterion 1, 2, 3, or 4. This is a relatively new provision within the zoning code. It was adopted by the Board of Trustees, went through the planning and zoning process, but was adopted, modified by the Board of Trustees back in 2021. But again, I'm I'm convinced that they meet the criteria for approval as outlined in number 5.
Thank you.
Mr. Brennan, I'm a little confused. How is this going to improve the property value in another piece of property, as they've stated?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I'll punt a little bit and let the applicant or the agent argue that, but generally speaking, improvements on a particular piece of property increase the property value not only of the subject site, but often have a positive effect on the value of other properties in the immediate area. That could be across the street, that could be down the street, that could be next door. But generally speaking, improvements that are made to properties help improve property values not only of the subject site, but of adjacent parcels.
And there's a fence between these two properties at this point?
Madam Chair, I'm not sure. We'll probably need to defer to the applicant or their agent for specifics on existing development.
All right. Is there any other questions right now of Mr. Williams? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Can we have the applicant or their representative come to the podium? Please introduce yourself and provide your address.
Good evening, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners. My name is Maya Mullen, agent for Bree Lovelady. My home address is 2400 Hannett Avenue, Northeast, 87106.
If you could outline why, why you believe this new argument, why we should consider it.
And that is a valid question. And again, thank you for your time and attention to our request. Our due diligence has taken us on quite a journey through this process, and we're actually pleased to be back before you. When we were last here, we were not prepared, in large part due to a process that we started with your former planning director, Mr. Hill. We started this process in October of last year, and we submitted a letter to Mr. Hill for review and asked for a site visit to say, can you please come out and advise us? This is what we're trying to do. This is what we'd like to do. We would like to seek a variance. We'd like to play by the rules. And Mr. Hill, after considerable coordination problems, but we will not point towards that, when he came out to evaluate our proposal, he said, no, you need to argue for hardship number 1 and hardship number 3. And so I realized the commissioners tonight feel like we're punting or finding a new justification or argument for our case. But in point of fact, we're just returning to what we felt was our most solid argument, where we wanted to come before the commission and explain to you and ask for the variance based on. And I understand, Commissioner Baldwin, that you have some questions about hardship 5, and that's your purview. On the other hand, it is a hardship that is offered to residents to defend their variance. And so if it's on the table, it's fair game.
Let me just correct, that was Chair Homan who made the question, not me, but that's okay. It's
Well,
important to share.
She asked the question, but earlier you had asked about hardship 5 and to Mr. Brennan. So I'm just bringing that up. We felt very misguided and essentially abandoned by your previous planning director because he took us down this path. And then when we revised our package and reached out to him, we never heard back from him. The next time we had communication with the village, it was with Mr. Williams. And so when we showed up for the February hearing, we felt, for lack of a better word, a little broadsided. And we had a very full discussion with you, and I appreciated the questions, but we weren't prepared in a manner to answer them. And so we're now here. We'd like to demonstrate that we did have a thoughtful and rigorous process for this request using hardship 5, and that is what Mr. Williams has evaluated. So again, it wasn't that we are trying to find any hardship that fits us until we get our answer. We're merely returning to our initial application. And so I'm prepared to go through that, but although I know you received it within your packet. So I would also stand for questions. I brought floor plans and elevations. Again, that was part of your packet. I know there was a question about the easement and the property owner to the west and whether there's a fence between there. That was a conversation that Commissioner Edwards was very interested in on February. And I think we actually got down a rabbit hole of what a solid fence actually means. So if that's a point of conversation, I'm happy to take questions on that or any other areas of our application that the commissioners find interesting or compelling or hopefully not lacking. But if there's any clarity I can bring, I'm happy to do that.
Could you address the question that I had asked? Okay, so you're verifying that, and I'm sorry I'm having to ask you to remind us about the fence,
No, that's fine.
but there is a fence between the two properties.
Oh,
And
yes.
what is its height, please?
So there is a 6-foot chain link fence between the two properties. So Miss Lovelady's property has a long driveway, and that's the easement that extends from Green Valley all the way south. Her home is situated rather south on the property. There's a large piece of land that fronts it along Green Valley. Due west of that is a permanent easement that was put into place when the owners of that property, I believe, subdivided or changed the platting of that piece of land. And so that easement is there as a permanent easement so that access can be gained to the rear of that property. That, in point of fact, is the spirit of this code. Not all code is aesthetics. I would like to talk about aesthetics all day long, but often the code is there to provide life safety, quality development, safety to not only the residents that are asking for the variance, but those who are surrounding them. And so in this case, the easement not only is not blocked, it provides access to that property, but it also is right next door to Miss Lovelady's driveway, which also extends that full length. I do want to note, and Mr. Williams brought this up, that there's full access. If we're looking at this as in terms of emergency access, you can access Miss Lovelady's full property from her driveway, even at an 11.5 width. A minimum width for a drive access is 10 feet. Her property, by design, also has a turnaround in front of the existing garage so that their emergency vehicles have to have a way to turn around. So you either have a large radius, which is often onerous on a property owner, or you create a situation where they can do a K-turn. This variance does not interrupt any of that emergency access. It squeezes it a little bit, right? Obviously, but it's still a legal and valid access route. In addition, Madam Chair, to your point that there's another easement right next door separated by a chain link fence. So if for some reason Miss Lovelady's drive was blocked, emergency access could come up the permanent easement and, whether it was fire response or I don't know what it is, but it's not a solid brick wall or cinder block wall. It's a chain link fence that separates the two properties.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Commissioner Edwards?
So from the perception of value, is the home functionally obsolete in its current layout?
Is your microphone on? If you can pull the microphone closer to you.
Testing.
That's better. Speak into it, please.
So is the house functionally obsolete in the way it's laid out, and that's why this is being done, and that's where the increase in value is?
So that's an interesting question, and I know with your real estate background, that's something you probably want to ponder. No, functionally obsolete. We would hope that within the village that we didn't have residential structures that were functionally obsolete. That would actually bring quality, down when we're trying to actually maintain a certain level of quality. Currently, the house is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. There is not a master suite. It's arguable, right? I think your question is very subjective. It is not obsolete, no. Does this bring value by adding a master suite? I think many people, many clients of yours might argue that yes, A master suite, that's an in-suite with a walk-in closet and a dedicated bathroom, does bring a certain level of development that the village likes to consider having. And not to sound elitist, but yes, it brings value in that respect. We're also expanding the kitchen and modernizing it and providing a new entryway. And as I put forth in our proposal, these different architectural elements link up and have these flat roofs and a brick fascia put on them so that it kind of creates a nice rhythm and not just an afterthought or forced addition.
Anything else?
No, they got Brian.
Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy if more come forth, please. I'd be happy to come back up. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I'd
Commissioner
like to make a
Baldwin.
motion.
I think we need to hear from the public first.
Oh,
that are-
my goodness, there I am going all over it.
You just want to go home, don't you?
My foot.
So-
Please, eager to hear.
I will call up our first person that signed up for comment. Bree Lovelady? I didn't sign up. Oh, okay. Thank you, though. All right. Bill Swoop? If you will approach the podium and please give your name and address.
William Swope. The address is 1030 Green Valley Road Northwest. That's a property line that we share with Bree and her husband. Sorry I missed your first meeting in February. I might have cleared up a few of your matters, but I was spending a little time in the hospital. And, but I'm here tonight, and I want to tell you that I've seen the plans, I've seen the proposals. I've lived next door to this couple for many years, and I'm really pleased with the relationship that we have. I can't imagine any effects, negative or positive, that this development would have on our property, value, or how we use it to live with. So I really hope that you might take your second thought at this and get it approved so they can get on about life.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next one on my list is Vincent Sanchez.
I'm here as well to speak in.
If you will provide your name
I'm
and
sorry.
address, please.
Vincent Sanchez, 6802 Rio Grande. I'd like to speak in support of this and applaud my neighbor for going through the variance request process the right way, leaving her family's comfort to the scrutiny of the commission, to the commission's discretion. The request has little to no impact on surrounding residents. The aesthetics or goals of the village code described by A1 agricultural residential zone. I encourage you to reward these residents that have taken the time to present a request that is unimposing to surrounding neighbors and have no measurable effect on stewardship and lands of the village. Long story short, please approve it for him. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas Smith?
Hello, I'm Thomas Smith. I'm at 1020 Green Valley Road Northwest, so just directly east of the property. We've been at the house, my wife and I speak on behalf of my wife and my in-laws who live at the house with us. We've been neighbors of Bree and Ryan for approximately 3 years now. Great neighbors. Bree has helped us with a lot of our interior design stuff in our house, and everything that she does I'm always impressed with. I know that what the addition will be will be very in keeping with the neighborhood and the characteristics that we love about the North Valley. And I'm also believe that by having these improvements made, it will in fact improve the property values of the surrounding properties, just because, you know, as homes get improved, that's part of the effect, and I think Mr. Williams mentioned that earlier. The other thing I guess I'd go to is, I'm not sure listening to the questions earlier from Mr. Edward, I don't think functional obsolescence is the standard that we're looking at here. It's, so I know the house is a beautiful house now. They keep their yard up very well, and I'm sure they will continue to do so. And as far as impacts on the neighborhood, like I said, I think it'll be in keeping. And I know there's a lot of other variances in the neighborhood and surrounding homes and properties. So it wouldn't be something that looked very different, because I know there are a lot of variances where the structures are closer to the property line than would otherwise be dictated by by the rules. So I speak in favor of this. I hope you guys will approve the variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion? And then we will go to further discussion. Oh, you know what? I've got a question of Mr. Williams or Mr. Avalai, whoever has this. What is the width of a fire truck? How wide do they need to go down the side of anything? I think it's more than the 10 feet.
Madam
Either
Chair.
one of you are looking like you know the answer.
Commissioners, I don't know. I am aware of, and I'm on a slippery slope here, but I am aware that, not being a fireman, but from a development standpoint, that many times it's providing a point of access is sufficient. In other words, if there's a fire or some sort of an emergency where a fire truck or an ambulance or a large piece of equipment, say, needs to get to the back of the property, having a point close enough to pull a fire hose out or to raise the crane or whatever the solution would be is sufficient. But again, that's all just based on my limited understanding of what the fire code would require. I don't know widths of fire trucks.
All right. It looks like the standard fire truck is usually around 10 feet, according to Copilot on Google. So, okay.
Plus Dalmatians and
Yeah.
firemen.
Dalmatians with their heads out, right? Okay. All right. Well, is there a motion?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you or me. I move that we accept, that we approve V 2501 as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second, so long as it also includes the staff findings listed.
Okay.
that
Do you
okay,
accept
Brenda?
that as a friendly amendment to your
Yes,
motion?
of course.
Okay.
Yes, accepted.
So the motion has been made by Commissioner Barrow and seconded by Commissioner Baldwin to approve this variance with the staff recommendations. This is a roll call vote. Commissioner Martinez is not with us tonight. Commissioner Baldwin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Tagliapetra?
Yes.
Commissioner Edward?
Yes.
Commissioner Haywood?
Yes.
Commissioner Homan, yes. All right, so thank you. Thank you for bringing this back to us with further explanation. And with that, our item has closed. And I'm sorry, I've got to get back up here to the front to give you the reference to it, sorry. So the public hearing on appeal V2501 is officially closed. Okay. With that, then, we will continue down our agenda. And I believe at this point, we just need the reports from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Oh, well, wait a minute, sorry. Is there there's no old business? So, and then number 6 is new business, which there isn't any on our agenda. And then item number 7, the reports.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, Commissioners, the department does not have a report for this month.
All right. With that, we'll move on to commissioners' reports, and we'll just go down the line. Commissioner Haywood, can we start with you tonight?
Mr. Williams, I was just curious as to why we did not have the VC revised code in our packet. I mean, obviously you're still working on it, so is it, or can we expect it next month?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Haywood, yes, I mean, it's really just kind of a timing
Okay, so it's
and
moments away.
capacity matter. It has been, or notice has been sent for that. The affected property owners have been notified. I believe that went out early last week. We're prepared to, perform the other public notice requirements, run the advertisement and things of that nature. All of the affected property owners were provided a copy of the proposal or the proposed changes. So we're working on it.
Okay.
But yes, it's planned to be in front of the commission at the June meeting with other items.
Okay, I'm just getting a bit jumpy about the moratorium expiring before we have something in place. That's it for
Anything
me.
else, Commissioner Haywood? Thank you. Commissioner Edward?
This is open mic, right?
Yes.
Are you going to break into song?
Are you going to sing for us, or?
No. No. As I walk through the forest now. What I would like to comment on, so I drove through the project there at Osuna and 4th Street, and I thought some of it looked very nice, but I'm concerned that in looking at it, I don't know how, the importance of following the landscaping plan is, and maybe I used to see a lot more trees in my memory of what that landscaping plan shows as opposed to there being landscaping. And I just wanted to know, after a project has been approved and has been built, to what degree are those elements, because we do love our outdoors in the valley, in the village. Do people pay attention to that and really audit that sort of a thing? That's one element. I have another element that, speaking of landscaping and things like that, there's a property in the area where it was a barn. Actually, it looks more like a commercial garage, metal-sided building that was built in the back of a person's house, and it's at least 26 feet tall. It's a huge monolith, and people look right at it, and a little bit more creativity could probably go into making these things seem a little bit better. It's pretty obtrusive.
And where is this at?
It's on Chamasal. Yeah, and it sits back huge distance from the street, but it's definitely within at least an inch of the setback. And for a building of that size, I think issues of a landscaping mandate or scalability of the setback relative to things, or you have to do some sort of external facading to not have to look at it. And it's not that you're looking at it. It's where the Sargent property was.
Yeah, it's 3 houses west of you. No, I know what you're talking about now. I didn't hear what you said. That's
Yeah,
all I was asking.
but it's a metal, it's a commercial construction standard being applied to a residential area. And I think that moving forward, I think that that sort of stuff needs to definitely be modified, because honestly, we put a setback requirement for a pool, which you can't even see within 25 feet of the back. And this thing, I mean, if it was at 30 or 35 or 40 feet, it's going to be hard to miss. And there's no creativity in the architecture. And so, everything that I think could go wrong has gone wrong with this. I don't know how they got up. We need to change our standards if that's acceptable.
I'm curious if it was permitted, so.
I'd like to know if it was permitted. I mean, there's things that all the time, and we don't have a code enforcement guy around here right now. And so, but I know that it's in an area where I live, and I know that the neighbors are not very happy about it in the slightest.
Is there anything else you have to speak on?
And I guess the last thing is I think I said it before, I think that we need to honor people who take care of their places. And I think the village should do something to feature how well people take care of their places. They look great when they first get built, but then people don't maintain them. I think that the property at 4th Street, it's a Peterson property. I mean, it's not even made it through the summer yet, and it's full of weeds. And every commercial property that's kind of like that, you go to this one down here at Ranchitos and 4th Street, that thing's constantly riddled with weeds. It's where those antique malls are. I mean, there's no pride of ownership. I mean, that's what we lack, is pride of ownership.
Thank you.
And those big apartments are beginning to show their own pride, lack of pride of ownership, and that the landscaping, some of it's dead, some of those trees are dead. I think where there's supposed to be trees, there are no trees. And we let these guys get away with it. Let's need to stop.
Thank you. Commissioner Tagliapetra.
Hi. Okay, I have some questions, Brennan. These are just questions because I don't know the answers. They have taken all the fencing down at 4th and Osuna. That property's large enough to where they should have to have SWPP silt fencing still around it. And we're getting into a windy part of time or year. There's no, and they've taken down all their chain link fence that the silt fence was attached to. So they need to have silt fencing back up there.
For
And
dust abatement?
For dust, it's a state mandate, isn't it? SWPPP, stormwater protection.
The SWIP plan, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, Commissioner Tagliapetra. So I am familiar with the acronym for SWIP. My understanding is that's not a village requirement.
It's a state.
So my understanding is that that's the responsibility of Bernalillo County.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we need to contact the county?
A village standard that, well, I mean, I don't know that there's a requirement for that. I do know that it's not a village requirement. It may be a county requirement that we can certainly reach out to the county and see if we can get some clarification on.
Because I know when I had an acre of property in Sandoval County, I had to have silt fence with an acre, and they've got a lot more than an acre.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Tagliapetra, and I think some of that, and I could be mistaken, I know just enough to be dangerous, but I think some of that has to do also with the stage or the level of completion as it relates to the project. So I certainly am familiar that when you're moving dirt, you're doing grading and drainage work. I believe that that's a requirement, but after that or after development gets started and you're not moving dirt, you're going vertical, there may be a change. All of that is to say we can certainly reach out to the county. Well, let me defer to Mr. Chappell first because
Okay, Mr. Chappell has something to tell me. He has something to tell me, I can tell.
Madam Chair and members, those kind of issues are in the jurisdiction of the Albuquerque Air Control Authority, Water Control Authority. They have the authority under the state statute to enforce those kind of things, and they enforce them on open areas, streets, and so forth, and that's exclusively within their jurisdiction. So they may want to come back and do that. As an example, the village got fined for not properly maintaining its parking lot right down here. They got a citation and a $5,000 fine, which we fought from the Air Quality Board. And so they're the agency that is supposed to enforce that air quality standards, the state standards, and they're delegated that authority to do that. So if there's a problem, it needs to go to the Air Quality Board.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Brennan, another question. Follow up on the landscaping at 411, the fire department or the fire truck place. You said that you were going to check with Maria and get back with me?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Talley Pietra,
They're the ones by the AX propane?
correct. So the village is still aware of that, and the village will notify the property owner. It's based on the number of priority matters that the administrator has me working on. Enforcement is not one of those.
I know, I know.
but
It was
we
just
will-
a question, a follow-up question.
We will contact, the village will contact the property owner and ask them to make the necessary changes.
Okay,
I spoke with him a couple of days ago. Mr. Marquez, I think it's Marquez, that's the head over there. And he says he has contacted the village on numerous times about that, trying to find out what the plan and timing for the 4th Street improvement in front of that is, because they don't want to build something that's going to be torn up, if it's going to be something very soon. That's why they put in a smaller paved area, leaving space on the north or east side of 4th Street for, for that construction, not knowing how deep it's going to be. They are very anxious to put some landscaping in, but they are waiting on direction from the village.
okay, another question? I have a lot of questions tonight. When, I know, I'm going to have to start moving. When will the apartment complex have to change the in and out on Osuna so that it is directional to where you can only exit out going east?
The ingress, egress, yeah.
Ingress, egress.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Talley Pietra, I don't know. I mean, certainly, I believe the appeal period has expired on the site plan decision from the Board of Trustees. And I know that the project, the developer of the project is seeking some clarification, so the village is working on, getting a response back to them. I don't have any indication or belief that they're not willing to do that, but the village does need to get back with them with some specifics on how we want it labeled or signaged, as well as any changes they might need to make to that access point to prevent those left-hand turns coming out of the site.
Because somebody almost got hit coming eastbound on Osuna with somebody shooting into the apartment complex day before yesterday. So, and then my last question. My last question is probably for Mr. Chappell. Are we going to do, I know you're working on it, the ordinance for homeless? Because all you did was move the homeless lady to the back of the gun shop property. And she's expanded.
Madam Chair and Commissioner Talley Pietra, that draft is done. It is going before the Board of Trustees at the next meeting. I believe it's on the agenda to
On the 20th?
Publish for, approve for publication.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Commissioner Barrow.
I have several questions or comments, one of which was already attended to. Thank you very much. I had a question on the moratorium. That's been answered, or relatively so. I couldn't agree with my fellow Commissioner Moore than the question on what's on Chamizal. When that property first came up for building and people purchased it and they started working in the front, and I think we can all agree that what's in front of that property is quite well done, well landscaped. But when I could see that it had been divided to a front and a back, I came in here and I asked if it had been permitted, because I was quite alarmed at what was going to go back there, because what they had back there were several big trucks parked. This was before the building. In case anybody doesn't know, I live 2 houses from that, just to understand my concern. But when the building started going up, I came in here 3 different times and asked if it had been permitted. They said yes. And I'm still a little concerned as to why that giant building had been permitted. I asked, I got an answer, yes, that was all. Is there anything that can be done about it at this point? I don't want to go over the same material that my fellow commissioner, Mr. Edward, did, because I agree with him totally.
If I may add something as part of that question, is there a business associated
Well,
with
that's-
this building, perhaps, that's being run out of the home?
I know that the people I talked to, I can't remember their names, I'm sorry, they're not there very often because they have a business up in Chama. But every time I've stopped over there, I go in, I see people, I see a truck, I try to chat up who's there, and it's never been the owner. I have never, except one time, talked to the woman in front. So I don't know what's going on back there, but there is a continuous in and out of various working trucks. So my guess is yes, but that is a guess. I have no confirmation of that.
Can
The
I
people I've
interject
talked
onto
to,
that? I work opposite on the immediate other side of the road, and it sounds like it's a fabrication plant.
It sounds
Metal
as what?
fabrication.
It sounds like it's metal fabrication.
Clean air permit.
I mean, just the equipment that's being used, it sounds like it. I have no corroboration to my suspicions.
Can we, Mr. Brennan, can we ask that this be reported in the future? Mr. Avila, do you have an answer?
I have this answer. Any of these suspected violations can be reported. They don't have to come here at the meeting. So if you send us an email on that, then we can follow up on it. There is a lot of work that the department is doing, but we'll follow up on it. It may take a while, it may take some investigation. We may not find the answers right away, but if you just send them in, we'll man that and get it done and find out what we can find out. It may or may not be a violation, but we'll try.
It should be pretty simple to find out if they've got a business permit. I mean, you've got a database on that at least.
It'd be simple to find out the business permit. It may not be as simple to find out if they have a business. So
Agreed.
that's kind of, it's the good business owners that are registering and saying, yeah, we're running a business and we pay taxes here. But there may be a lot of businesses that don't follow that.
Thank you. Anything
all
else?
right. Yes, I have another question. Do we have a new planning and zoning director?
We do not have a new planning and zoning director. We have on the board for approval next week a planner and code enforcement officer, and that's on the agenda. Forrest Repulgel, and I'm probably hacking that last name up, but he's on the agenda for approval along with finance assistant. Her name's Christina. I don't have her last name.
Thank you. I will be gone next meeting.
Thank you for that heads up. Commissioner Baldwin.
Thank you, Commissioner Haywood, for leading off. I think I ditto the concern about, or the eagerness of getting to the revisions on the VC zone so that we can get on the other side of the moratorium. And I know the Board of Trustees sort of did an interim vote to try to ensure that there's some tenant improvement and activities going, because there are a number of businesses that are sort of like held up right now, not being able to make those improvements. And so that was a very positive step, I think, in my mind. But, this is the meat of the work that we are up here to do. And so I'm eager to see that and talk through it with all of you and act on it so that it can get to the Board of Trustees as soon as possible. On a lighter note, on April 27th was the second community yard sale, which is at the Alfredo Garcia Barn. Really well attended, great activities. There will be an article, hopefully, in the Village Vision to sort of talk about it. And I'm very excited that we've sort of set a timetable. So the first Sunday in October will be an ongoing, like that will happen every first Sunday in October to take advantage of Balloon Fiesta attendees. And then the third Sunday in April. So those will be our 2 community yard sales every year. So hopefully going forward, it will, this last one supported the Lavender and More Festival. The fall one will support the Fall Festival, which has had lots of activities across the village and chili roasting and all that great stuff at the Agri-Nature Center. So trying to keep true to good, positive programming in the village that the yard sale can help support. So, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there are just a couple of things that I would like to mention. I did attend on Saturday the celebration of life for Judy Griego, longtime resident. Gosh, Judy's, I know Mr. Chappell, you knew Judy Griego always sat back left-hand corner through all the P&Z and trustee meetings for years and years. Longtime friend of the village and longtime resident of the village. Had it over at the barn. It was a very nice gathering. I was surprised I didn't see more village residents at the event. So, so that's one thing. And then I'm very eager for, and I'm sure all of the folks in the village are very eager for us to have a full complement of staff as soon as possible. I've had one resident that had been calling me off and on regarding a application for, she was trying to put in solar, and her application was originally put in back in October. And she's been delayed and delayed and delayed. And finally, she got an appointment with the mayor on Monday. And Friday, she also got notice from the village that it was approved. So anyhow, I'm just encouraged the village to please, and I know you're doing everything you can to try to attract worthy and efficient and knowledgeable staff members, and we're eager to support you in that. And I know our village residents are really looking for a change that will help encourage them to come forth with those applications so they can do things on the up and up and not get so fed up with the process that, and disillusioned with the process, that they end up either foregoing something that would be meaningful for not only them and perhaps the village itself, but bless you, but actually, you know, continue to abide by the ordinances. Yes,
Can I bring up
Commissioner
one other
Edwards.
point, please? The aspects of the blowing dust and everything else that was brought up earlier. The old SWPPP. There's several properties around the village that have gone feral as far as their land, and that's not the problem. They mow the weeds down, if there are any left, down to a level which the ground is just bare. It is just truly bare, and I think that we need to put a position in there that, you know, you got to at least water your yard or this field at least once to maintain a limited amount of vegetation to retain the soil. I mean, there's one that's really close to my house, and it's, excuse me? It's like an infield of a baseball park, and there is absolutely no vegetation on it at all. It's completely bare. It's almost an acre. There's one down the street from it that's 3.5 acres. It's almost completely bare, and I don't think they've been irrigated, I don't know, 10 years? So anyway, that's just something to think about.
I know we're on extreme drought, but it would be nice if they greened it up. I agree.
excuse me for speaking up, the one on Guadalupe, at least when the cranes are here, it's full of cranes and geese because they're fed.
Well, with that, could we ask at our next meeting, and it probably falls under your purview, Mr. Avila, perhaps Mr. Williams, just a brief update on any kind of information we have about the continued 4th Street project. If we've got any kind of timing where we are just on the whole process. I mean, it very well, you could be coming back and telling us that you're still seeking so much financial